Welcome to our masterclass. Today, we are going to do a deep dive into the shadow of manifestation. This is a really important piece around manifestation mastery that is very important to highlight. A lot of manifestation conversation is around being in a high vibration and positive mindset and going for gold and visualizing, which is a really important part of manifestation. I would say it's sort of like the above ground aspect of manifesting. But I'm all about going into the roots, because if you want to really manifest and embody your wealth and ground this work into gold, as in being the living, breathing, embodied version of what you want to create, what you want to welcome in, we need to go into the roots and go into the ground, which is into the unconscious aspects. I have had my ass kicked many a time around this piece. And so I want to highlight it for you to help you understand that this is a normal part of the manifestation process, and it is part of it. Inside of the vault in the Manifestation Mastery course, which if you are new into this space, you want to make sure you go right from the beginning, step by step, it's going to break this down and help you understand how this work works. It's very illogical and counterintuitive and does not make sense to the logical mind a lot of the time. But there is a real science and mechanics behind how this work works and how you can make this work for you. And I want to normalize this piece today that took me a long time to figure out. And it's really, really important. It's particularly important to me when we are growing businesses, when we're creating wealth, and also with any area of life, whether it's relationship or health or body. We need to go into the roots. We need to go into the shadow, what is driving you. Because if we don't, your shadow aspect will kick your butt. And we want to be on the front foot of it and help you to understand, because mostly the shadow aspect of manifestation is in a blind spot. It's unconscious. It's the unseen part. And you will get to know this part of yourself as you journey through this process. It's not always fun doing the shadow aspect of manifesting, but it's an essential piece. And I want to create safety for you around it. I want to normalize it for you, and help you to feel safe to go into the roots of this work. It's also what's going to ground your results into physical reality in time. And we're doing a lot of groundwork, particularly when we're building wealth and particularly when you're building a business. But even if it's relationship you're working on or health you're working on, it's really getting the foundations in place. So you have strong, stable foundations. And the importance of that is that you can manifest with your high vibes and your visualization and getting in the vortex and all of that. But can you hold it? Can you nurture it? Can you grow it? And so you can manifest, and then you can equally unmanifest. It's a bit like a hot potato. Like, can you actually receive what you want? And then can you hold what you want? Can you keep it? And can you grow it? And this is really where we do the foundational groundwork. And we're doing groundwork ahead of time. We're doing the hard digging of the foundations ahead of time, before you see the result, right? Before you've manifested what you want. And what it means is once you've got the stronger, stable, secure foundations within, it means that when what you want comes in, you can allow it in and receive it. And you're like, oh yeah, I did the work already, ready to receive, ready to hold. So you're not unconsciously getting rid of it. I don't know about you, but I've coached many, many people on around receiving blocks. So I've had many clients who manifest big money or manifest big results or manifest a relationship, and then they get rid of it as fast as it comes in. Has anyone done that before? Have you done that, where like something good comes in and then it disappears? I have definitely done it many, many times. And again, I learned all this the hard way. I started becoming quite good at manifesting money, for example, or manifesting results. And I was like also equally good at getting rid of it as fast as it came in. And I didn't know how to hold it. I didn't know how to, I could receive it, but not hold it. And so there's a really fascinating piece, which is, again, it's in the blind spot. But if we can understand this and get on the front foot of this piece, you're going to be much stronger as you move forward. So sometimes it's like doing the groundwork or the hard work ahead of time that will pay off in time. And it's not necessarily about fast results, but it's about stable, secure foundations. And we start that by going within. So this work is always about the inner shifts that create outer results. Again, we can't really see that because we project out. We project out on our relationships, we project out on the world, and it always looks like it's everyone else's fault, doesn't it? It's never us. I'm never the problem. Everyone else is the problem. And it really does look like that. And you're not wrong. But what I like to do is to take your power back, is to go in and see what's going on in your inner game that's either creating your outer results or co-creating your outer results. So it's really interesting. It's a little bit annoying sometimes, I'm not going to lie. But if we can take what I lovingly call radical self-responsibility for everything that's showing up, then you realize, we get more into a power position. I can shift and change this. Now, unfortunately, we can't control other people. Damn it, I know. But we can shift and control and change ourselves, how we react, how we respond, how we navigate the ups and downs, not just of the manifestation journey, the business journey, the wealth creation journey, but being a human being in the world, right? Life. How do we navigate through life? So it's really, really powerful, what I want to talk with you about today. You may have heard me say some of these things in one way or another, but there's a lot of rinsing and repeating. There's a lot of just going over the same information over and over again till your beautiful brain gets it. And I want you to really understand how this work works. I want you to really embody it, live it, breathe it, and become a manifestation master. This is what this space is designed to support you with. And we learn through a lot of failure, through a lot of fumbling into your fortune. So you may have heard me say that I really see this like surfing. Mostly you're going to fall off your surfboard. The waves are going to bash you. But we want to get back on the surfboard and try again and try again and try again. And this is part of, the daily practice that we want to be bringing into either ideally every day or, a minimum of 4 times a week. We are in training. We are building manifestation muscles. And we are going to the money gym and getting that training going. So if you haven't been exercising, we might be lifting very tiny little 2-kilogram weights to start with. And it might seem like nothing, and it might seem like nothing's happening. But if we keep going, we start building strength, we start building resilience, start building that inner stability, inner security, and slowly building those money muscles. Or those manifestation muscles. And then as you go through it, you start to get it through your lived experience of it. So this is my intention, to support you with this. And it's also, in today's masterclass, is inspired by a lot of coaching sessions I've been having all week and conversations I've been having with some very powerful people as well, who are struggling in their level of the money game or business game, and helping them to see where the blind spots are, what's unconsciously running business owners, unconsciously running human beings. And so this is what I want you to see. But again, remember that some of this stuff you're not going to be able to see yet or know yet. And as you continue on this journey, you'll start to understand what I'm talking about. And I want to support you to navigate through the ups and downs, to stay in the game when things get hard, and how to lean into the work when your nervous system's like, get me out of here. Like, I'm going to punch you in the face, right? When we're doing the fight, flight, freeze, where you can't even move, and your system's not on board. How do we lean into the work and stay in the game and keep going? This is part of this work, is continuing to go through all the ups and downs. Yes, it's wonderful when we have manifestation wins and we have great results, and you will, and that will happen, and we celebrate all of that. And we keep doing the foundational work. So what's quite interesting about manifestation mastery is sort of like not getting too high with the wins and not getting too low with the setbacks. And how can you hold yourself like more steady and stable through the ups and downs, so we don't get too attached to the good stuff and we don't get too attached to the bad stuff, and we just understand that this is the game that we're in of consciously creating. So the game really is about who you are becoming as a manifestation master. This is about you and your growth and your development as a human being on this planet, how you're showing up, how you're doing life. And yes, we want to celebrate all the great stuff and we want to hold you and support you through all the hard stuff, which we do. And that's part of what the support of the space is providing you, but also to not get too identified with the good stuff and the bad stuff, or too attached to the good stuff or the bad stuff. Because human beings, we love to attach, we love to project, we love to blame, we have all sorts of reactive patterns that come up very naturally. And we want to help to keep you kind of steady and stable through all of it. And that is part of why I call this mastery. It's like, can we come back to stability, come back to the ground, come back to the game, and stay on course, stay on track, because that's going to help you to keep moving forward. So safety, security, stability, this is all around the base chakra, the sacral chakra areas of your body, to build those strong, stable foundations so you keep going, keep growing, keep evolving. A dysregulated nervous system, when we're feeling in our survival brain, we're feeling scared, we're feeling anxious, we're feeling frustrated, that creates a lack of stability. And that will show up in, our thoughts, what our mind's saying, our emotions are reacting, our nervous system's responding. All of that's very normal. That's part of being a human being and our crazy brain. But there's a way to kind of hack that system and lead through it. And this is what I want to keep teaching you and supporting you with. So what we're going to do is I want to talk about the shadow of manifestation, which is really interesting. I think it's super interesting, but it's not obvious. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like you just to take a deep breath into your belly. You might want to close your eyes for just a minute. And we're going to welcome all of you here to land and ground into this space now, to welcome all of you here now. And breathe into your beautiful belly, because we're going into the foundations of yourself. We're going to talk to your logical mind, but we also need to ground and root and connect here and land into the space. Because as I'm talking, there is an energy that is coming through that's going to be working with you, through you, for you, and it's going to be supporting you to wake up that wealth, wake up your creative power, and help you to release and let go of anything that is no longer aligned. That is what the energetics of this work is always doing. And the more that you can drop in, relax, release, embody, the more you can receive. And so I just like you to put aside anything that's been worrying you, stressing you, taking up a mental, emotional, physical energy, and we're going to drop right in to the center of yourself. Beautiful. Breathing yourself home to your body, home to this moment, home into the power of the present. Because manifestation happens in the power of the present. And deep inside of you, there is a consciousness, a power that knows how to create, wants to create. But it's like, can you get out of the way, please? And let me move forward. We need to drop in, let go. Easier said than done sometimes. So this energy is supporting you with that. So breathing deep down to the belly, breathing deep down to the pelvic floor. Beautiful. And welcome. Super. So I'm going to show you my incredible art skills. You're going to be blown away by what an amazing artist I am in just 1 minute. So this is you. Stick him in. Now, when we're tapping into your soul-aligned desire, your heart-aligned desire, what you want to manifest, this can come from your soul-aligned self, which is cut from the crown up, your heart's consciousness, which is incredible intelligent. Your soul-aligned self is incredibly intelligent. Your heart-aligned self is incredibly intelligent. And there's a mirroring aspect that lives inside of the body, which is your body's wisdom. I call it your wealthy wisdom within. This inner part mirrors the soul self. And this is your soul self landed and grounded through your physical body. And this is what we're wanting to do. We're going to draw in your soul, your essential self, and start to embody it, to live it and breathe it through every cell in your body. Manifesting your soul, your heart, your essential self in through the body. Now, we do this process also by focusing on what you want. So there's your financial goal, right? What is it that you want to manifest? What is it you want to create financially? Or maybe it's a relationship goal or a health goal or a business goal. And so that might come from an idea or from your soul or from your heart or from some deep, deep knowing inside of you. I call this in here the longing in your loins. It's where desire is. So there's your destiny, and there's your desire. And they are interconnected. They're interconnected. Or so that's that bit. But most human beings that I've worked with are quite cut off. There is a separation. And this is often around the solar plexus, but particularly when we go into the lower centers, particularly on the sacral chakra and the root chakra here. And we've got this separation for all sorts of interesting reasons. The how you were raised, the family you grew up in, the culture you grew up in, the society you grew up in, your lived experience growing up from in the womb, moving forward, your ancestral history. There's a lot that's going on in what keeps us in separation between, you know, your deepest desires and your destiny, your soul-aligned destiny. So this is the work we're trying to do. We're trying to bridge that soul-aligned destiny and start to live it, breathe it, embody it, and to manifest yourself into reality, which is going to help you to welcome and receive the result that you want. So this is about your idea, your vision, your hopes, your dreams, and then we're going to draw it down and bring it down through the body to help you to manifest what you want into physical reality. We manifest what you want, the external result that you want in your physical reality, by starting to live it, breathe it, embody it through your body. So this is the game. Super interesting. And there's some, you know, some clearing out to do with some of our money blocks or our blocks to receiving, our blocks to manifesting. Now, the thing I want to talk with you about today is everything that's going on in this underworld, which is often going even in the underground, meaning the space that we cannot see. So up here, we could call it your soul or your source or your essential self. This is how I see it. I see you as a soul. Now, there's lots of ways to describe the same thing. So some people call it your heart or your essential essence. So there's lots of different words to describe the same thing. I use the word soul, but that doesn't always resonate with everyone. There's your soul-aligned self. Essentially, who are you when you feel safe, secure, supported? You have all the money, all the love, all the resources. Like, who are you when you essentially feel safe to be yourself, fully you, through your body in your life? But down in here is the shadow aspect, the part of you that's in the underground, the unconscious. And these two, as well as the desire and the destiny being connected, the shadow and the soul are connected. I call another way to call this, I call this your wounds that are connected to your work. And these wounds, or the shadow, or the desire, is the drive. It's the thing that drives you. It's the thing that actually inspires you to go towards your work, the destiny, what you're here to do. Mostly we're connected to the above ground of like the work you want to do, your soul, your destiny, what you want. And this is where a lot of manifesting conversation happens, is the above ground. Get into the vibration, hold the vision, do your affirmations, get your vision board. And all of that is really powerful and important, and it does work. But if we want to create foundational wealth, like a very solid business, solid relationship, we need to also look at what's going on in the underground. And mostly we're not aware of the wounds that are running us, the shadow that is running us. And this is where our ass gets kicked and the waves knock us off the surfboard. It took me a long time to understand this myself, because I went really into the spiritual realms. I was really getting a psychic, connect to my soul, connect to my vision. And I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm going. But what I didn't know at that time was all the trauma that I was carrying inside of my body. And that unintegrated or unprocessed trauma was actually stopping me from being able to move forward. I could not ground my vision into reality, and I did not know why. I felt so stuck, so frustrated. It's like every step I took forward, I felt like I tumbled down the hill many steps back, and like it was looking like failure or things not working. But what I did not know then that I know now was the underground that was part of that. Because if we try and build up without rooting down, right, we have very, very unstable foundations. Very unstable foundations. My favorite teacher for this are my friends, the trees. So our friends, the trees, can teach us everything about this, right? We plant the seed in the ground and the tree grows up. It rises up to meet the light. It grows its branches, it grows its leaves. But if that tree doesn't have deep, solid roots, what happens when the wind comes? What happens when the storms come? Topples right over. For a tree that can withstand all the storm, all the things, keep holding, right, has deep, deep roots into the ground, into the darkness, into the unknown. And the same exists through your body. We need deep, deep roots in ourselves so we can be more stable, secure, resilient, and strong. And that mirrors into business, that mirrors into finance, that mirrors into relationship. But mostly, particularly in our culture, we're very disconnected. We're very logic driven. We're head driven. It's kind of top down, and we're focusing out, and we're trying to go up. We're trying to grow. We're trying to scale, right? But if we don't sort this bit out, things topple. So I've seen many business owners go, they can like do the thing, do the sales, do the marketing, make a shit ton of money, but they don't have the infrastructure in place and it collapses, right? Or you can grow one area of your life very successfully, but another area of your life is just in the shits, right? So sometimes people are very successful in business, have terrible health, or very financially wealthy, have a terrible relationship, right? And this work for me, I really do want you to have it all, because I don't think true wealth looks like money with no love, right? Or success with poor health. Like, I just don't think that's really worth it, to be honest. So we want to, as you're rising up, we also want you to root down. And that means going into the shadow aspects of the self. So what's super interesting, and this is what I see a lot in the game of business, I see a lot in the game of money, is that a lot of business owners, for example, are being driven by wounding, unheld trauma. And that can create external results, but it's also quite problematic. It creates a lot of addiction. It creates a lot of disharmony. And wherever you go, it's never enough. Because what we're trying to build up to create these external results, but really down here is like a hungry ghost that can never get enough. And then it's never enough. some people can really create successfully from their wounding. It does create a lot of drive. It creates a lot of success. It can create some great results, but with a huge cost of lack somewhere in another part of life. I could not create successfully from this place. So my hard lesson was I was trying to build and I would just crash down. So and I'm kind of grateful I wasn't able to create success without holding my wounds, because I never would have learned any of this. But it was like, I just felt my ass kept on getting kicked down on the ground, on the floor over and over again. Because what I didn't understand was I needed to go and meet the wounds, and I needed to go and meet my shadow aspect that was actually trying to call me home. So it looked like failure, it looked like something not working, was actually the gift in it was calling me home to a deeper part of myself. So the challenge of this conversation is there'll be areas around wounding and shadow and even your desires that you may not even be aware of currently. But as you try to grow or go towards what you want, this needs to be held at the same time. So it's that saying, what goes up must come down. So I know if I'm getting a little bit overexcited or too high on something, I'm like, oh, get ready for a crash, right? So if we're like, party, 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 right? There's a come down. Or if we're like too kind of, basically is where addiction can come in. So, and I see this a lot in business, I see this a lot in money, but you can see it in a lot of places. Like we're trying to get high, we're trying to feel good, we want to elevate, we want to go, 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 which is great and it's fun. But if we don't make sure we're taking care of the roots, there's going to be a crash on one level or another. For a lot, particularly for a lot of women, it looks like burnout. You know, there's a health cost. Hey, I've learned this the hard way over and over again, having health crises and burnout myself. So I know if I'm going too much out, there is going to be a crash, right? So this is where we want to make sure we're taking care of the roots as you're rising up. Sometimes that means going slower, right? It's not always about fast results now. Fast results now are great, but do you have the foundations to hold it? So I'm not saying don't get fast results now. And sometimes you can manifest really fast, but can you hold it? Can you receive it? Can you nurture it? Can you take care of it? And these poor little wounded selves, these shadow aspects, don't know how to receive. They don't know how to receive because they're in the shadow. They're like lost in the world of wounding. Call them the unheld, unloved aspects. Often our inner children are in here. There's underdeveloped parts of ourselves in here. It's super interesting. In here, right, we've got, if you go in, there's very deep vulnerability, very deep sensitivity, and that hurts a bit. And mostly with this here, we've created armor. We've created what I like to call padding of protection. We are armoring up against to protect the wounds. We're protecting the shadow, we're protecting the vulnerable, or we're even protecting our desires, because maybe it doesn't feel safe to say what we want. And this armor here becomes our personality, right? It becomes our ego. And bless, this part's done a lot of good. This has really kept you safe and done a fantastic job. And maybe has a lot of great strategies and great skills. For a lot of women, it looks like people pleasing, right? Being nice, not saying what you really feel, not saying what you need. Or, you know, for some people, it might look like being kind of aggressive, right? Defensive. We see a lot of that in the world, I think. So what we want to do, and that's all fine, you can create from this, and plenty of people do. Plenty of people do, but there is a cost. There is a cost to that. I had a really amazing coaching call with this potential new client who's a pretty heavyweight champion in the investing world, like working with like hundreds of millions of pounds. And he's also a massive dude with like massive muscles. And he came to me and recently and was like, you know, he's doing just fine. You know, he's doing just fine financially. But over the last 8 years, he said, I've been so close to landing massive deals, massive contracts, like hundreds of millions massive. And he's like, every time I'm just about to close, something goes wrong. And he was like, what is going on? He had this big dream of building, like what he's created is just fine. Like there's no problem with his finances, but wants to play a much bigger game. And he does play a big game, but every time he's just about to hit it, it crashes. He's like, what's going on? And I could see exactly what was going on. And I was like, are you ready to go in? And so this big muscling, massive guy, like, by the end, it was just like, we had to go right down into what was going on in here, which was this very vulnerable, about 4 or 5-year-old little boy, relationship with his dad, all this stuff was going on, childhood trauma they hadn't addressed. And the drive from that was just like, I want more, and big money and like big power and big muscles, right? And he's done all right. Like he's at the top of his game, right? But this crash kept happening. And so we have had 2 conversations where he let me into the vulnerable, and like the next day messaged me, like, oh my God, something amazing's happened. And every time he's let me into the vulnerable, he's manifested something awesome. He's like, what the hell, Lara? What was that? And I was like, I know, it's crazy, but it freaking works. So it's super interesting. And why I'm using that as an example is it doesn't really matter what level of the game you're playing, whether you're like on benefits or you're like in the hundreds of millions, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And it's really illogical. And especially, when we're all armored up with the big muscles and like, lots of success, it sometimes becomes even harder to go in here and to admit defeat because it requires vulnerability. And so this is the thing that's really hard. It doesn't feel good to be vulnerable, does it? It really doesn't. It doesn't feel good to acknowledge our weaknesses or acknowledge like what's not working. And this is why it's so important that we keep looking at the ground, what's here, because there's more information that's on the ground to look at, to reveal, called reveal to heal, that can help build the foundations. It just doesn't feel good. And most people don't want to go there. But I'm saying we go there, and we go in there really consciously and really mindfully to help liberate you. So as you go towards your goal, you're going to be also rooting down into sometimes some hard places, sometimes some painful places, sometimes the places that don't feel good. And the reason why we do that is to bring down this frontline defense system that's very clever, sometimes very funny, sometimes got lots of strategies, very entertaining. Maybe they're very, very charismatic. Sometimes, I've had different levels of my frontline defense over the years. It used to be much more push, drive, go. And then it became like where I hid this part of myself because I didn't feel safe. That's when Anna met me. I was like hiding as a healer. I didn't feel safe to let my gifts out, so I hid. And when you hide, right, no one can find you, right? So it was affecting my marketing, it was affecting my sales. So I had to learn to go in and meet these parts to feel safe in myself, so I could be safe to be visible. So there's a couple of ways it manifests. Sometimes it's like super overdrive, very push. So this guy was like all push. He was like, I'm working so hard. And some other guys were like landing all these things without working as hard as me. I know, because you're pushing, you're forcing. When you're pushing, you're driving from this kind of like wounded rage, like in his like wound, and the pain is too great to feel. So we drive up, and it's like, I'm going to prove to you. And with that guy's case, what we found is deep in there. Guess what was deep in there? Not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling lovable. So it was like a proving energy. I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to show you. Like I said, you can create from that place. But again, it's like trying to create against something rather than with something. So how we really step into manifestation mastery is to receive. And that's where like the magic comes in, where things just land that make no sense. Because you can actually receive into here. So what we want to do is hold this part so you can receive into it. And if we're guarded and defended and protected against these parts, we cannot receive, because it's like, don't come near me. Don't come near me. And I have found this in my business too. It's like people have invisible closed for business signs up. Or like people trying to manifest relationships. It's like, don't come near me, but I want you, but don't come near me, right? And it's so interesting. So the above ground is like, of course I want love. Of course I want money. Of course I want business success. And this part's like, everyone just fuck off and leave me alone, right? Like, so it's really, it's funny, but it's also like not funny because we don't even realize what we're doing. In my business sort of recently, what I realized I did was just so clever is I created this like maze where it became very hard to find me. So it was like, there was all these like codes and mazes and I could speak like coded language. And it was like, so only like the kind of energetic spiritual people could get in because I felt more safe. But like the logical people that needed logic and data and like, I want to understand how this works, couldn't get in. But that's how I made it, but not consciously. So I was like, how come people don't understand what I'm doing? And I was like, oh my God, I'd create all this sort of protection around this because it felt so sensitive and so sacred. And that's what's kind of been clearing out recently. It's like, okay, it's like kind of showing up naked. I'm just going to be naked, right? And be totally exposed. So we want to find out where are your like, when you're not manifesting what you want, it's like, where are your invisible closed for business signs? Where are you kind of telling everyone to get away from you when you actually want people to come in? So, and that shows up in marketing, that shows up in sales, that shows up in relationships, shows up in intimacy. So we need to find, and it can show up in health as well. We need to find those parts, go meet those parts and love, I call them loving them into life, the unheld, unloved, unhealed aspects. And when we go in there, because this all lives around kind of the lower centers, or a lot of trauma lives in the lower centers. When we can go in there and hold it and build that safety for yourself, you start to open around the base chakra, around the root, around the perineum. And then we can start to root down and ground down here. This needs to open for you to manifest. This needs to open for your soul to land and ground and live through your body, like the tree, the great tree. And this only opens when you feel safe, when you feel met, when you feel held, when you feel seen, when you feel heard. And we long for the other to give that to us, right? We long for it in relationship. We long for it from clients. We long to be seen and valued and recognized. And why doesn't anyone see how great I am? And why are all my needs unmet? And why does no one want me? And whatever, however that manifests. And I'm alone. There's not enough. And most of us are seeking externally to get that need met. We're seeking externally to get that want met. And sometimes that works, but mostly it's very disappointing. No, mostly it's very disappointing. I've learned this in my 24-year relationship, right? And my guidance always showed me, it was like, you have to go in. Very annoying, very annoying. So what we do is you go and meet this part yourself. You go hold this part yourself. You go love this part yourself. You go figure out what this part of you needs to be held, heard, honored, to heal and come home. And when you give it to yourself, right, guess what happens? We start opening the doors and suddenly the thing comes in. Right, suddenly we open up to receive. We can start to receive down. We can start to receive in. Because you start to feel safe. Safe to receive, which is vulnerable. Receiving is vulnerable. And like I said, you can create lots of things without all of this. But if you want to be in the mastery of manifestation and start to play with the magic of creation, this is what we need to bring in. And this is where you can create without the hustle and the push and the force, or you can create in all sorts of magical, wonderful ways. And that's when it's like, oh, this disappeared, poof, right? But we need to be open and receptive open and receptive, and stay open. And hey, for that small little traumatized part, that's not very easy sometimes because it's vulnerable and it feels like risk. It feels like risk. So as this truly is part of the foundations and part of the mastery, as well as all the high vibe stuff, which is great and powerful as well. And it does work as well. Of course, we need both. We need to work on the mind. You know, we need to work on your energy and all of that. But this is where a lot of the real foundational work is. So just want you to take a deep breath into that for 1 minute, because we are stirring into your root system. We are stirring into your belly. We're stirring into your pelvic floor. And we're starting to talk to these parts. Now, I've said this a few different times, but the thing that's actually driving you, is from down here. This is sort of the fuel. This is the fuel. And when we transform the wounds and when we hold the shadow, it's no longer a wound and it's no longer a shadow. What is it? What does it turn into? When the wound is healed, when the shadow is held? It becomes pure creative power. It's power. But it becomes embodied power, and it becomes a power that's held, a power that's healed. And that power then is this fuel that comes from deep inside of the earth. It's nature aligned power. And when we can start to tap that power, you can draw energy up from the depths of yourself and the depths of the earth and breathe it up into your body. Breathe it up into your belly. Breathe it up into your solar plexus. Breathe it up into your heart. Breathe it up into your head. The true power comes from the earth up. It's the belly up. It's the grassroots up. I call it embodied power, embodied wealth. And we start to tap a resource that's deep and rich that lives inside of you. Is deep and rich. So when we go in and transform all this stuff, it becomes pure creative power. And that's what we want to tap. That's what we want to tap. As well as the power of source, of soul, of the universal energies, all of that as well can come in. And these two dance. The power of the earth, the power of source, the universe. They dance through your body. The giving and receiving of both. Just going to let you sit with that for 1 second. I'd like you to take a deep breath into your body. And this is where we call on our friends, the trees again, because they know how to do this very, very well. They root down and they draw nutrients. They draw moisture from the soil. So they rise up to meet the sun and they gather energy from the sun. They gather energy from the air, oxygen, to root down the soil. And it's a giving and a receiving. It's giving and a receiving. And this is also what happens through our body when we are in alignment, we are embodied, we are connected. And this is the game we are playing, right? And it's a beautiful, deep, rich body of work. And it's, you know, it's a journey. It's a process. But I really want you to understand how manifestation works in its deepest depths as well as its highest heights. So you understand that when you fail, when you fall, when things go wrong, if you can work it really consciously, you can alchemize any pain, any problem, any challenge, any setback, any failure into your favor. And what I have learned the hard way is that actually we learn the most through failure. We learn the most through things not working. We learn the most when we don't have our needs met, we don't get what we want. And a lot of this manifestation game is you not getting what you want. Not right away anyway, right? And the game is can alchemize what's going on in the underground, right? That's manifesting those external results, shift them, alchemize them within, and start to transform without. And so in that sense, you want to receive all of life, right? Every pain and every problem, every challenge, every failure, like bring it. I'm going to alchemize it. Bring it. I'm going to transform it. And yes, we want the successes and the wins as well. But for a lot of people I've coached over many years, there's a real fragility. We have a fragility. We're very fragile. We're very, very fragile. And so we can get floored. I mean, this was me. Any failure, I was like, oh, I'm a failure. It's terrible. Like catastrophize. Any setback, crash, burn. Might as well give up. There's no point. We are very fragile. And we want to build strength. We want to build deep-rooted strength. So you can face everything. Just like the trees, they can be the stormiest storm. And they just bend. And so this is really about building resilience. It's building strength. It's building stamina, safety and security. You got deep roots. So no matter what happens, it's like, I'm good. I'm good. But our poor little traumatized selves don't agree with that, right? So we have to help them. We have to help them heal and transform and alchemize. So this is the theory. This is the process. I'm talking a lot into this in today's masterclass because I want you to understand it. And then all the steps that we take you through that's inside of the Manifestation Mastery course of like going into the roots. This is why. So this is a lot for your head at the minute. Now, what I want to do is take you through an activation to help integrate this information, to digest this information. And also what I want to ultimately help you do is build safety with the groundwork, build safety with the wound work, build safety with the healing part of this journey. And how it is a gift. It never feels like a gift, does it? No, it does not, right? It doesn't feel like a gift and it doesn't feel good. But if we can go in and feel the feeling you don't want to feel, hold yourself through whatever's coming up and stay present, it starts to shift, starts to alchemize, and then you start to receive. And then you start to receive. It's very counterintuitive. It's very counterintuitive. And yet that's the game. That's part of the game and the groundwork. And of course, as we're holding this, you get to rise into joy, you get to rise into pleasure, you get to rise into creative energy, you get to rise into creation. You get clarity from connection. A lot of people come to me and they're very confused, or they're in a chaos. They have a lack of clarity. And I always say lack of clarity is lack of connection. If there's confusion, there's lack of connection. Because when we're deeply connected, we know what's up. We know what's up. We just don't always want to face what's up. We don't want to know. We do lots of avoidance as human beings. We do lots of pretending. We do lots of like, I don't want to hear. I don't want to see. I don't want to acknowledge. I don't want to face the hard stuff. And so this cycle continues over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. We are here to break the cycle of self-sabotage, break the cycle of self-destruction, but also break historical cycles, right? Of what we see like passed on from generation to generation to generation. So it's deep, deep, beautiful work we're doing. And so what you're doing, going for gold, going for your dreams, is beautiful. It's so powerful. And it's such a huge contribution to the planet because as you go for gold, you're also going to be transforming and alchemizing through your roots. And this is what is going to create and does create foundational change. Awesome, strong, stable, secure, connected, integrated human beings on the planet. We need more and more business owners and leaders coming from this place. So that's the bigger vision of this game. So what I would like us to do, I know that was quite a lot of words and quite a lot of information, and I want to take us into an integration. As you go towards what you want, we're going to go meeting in the underground. So we're going to go into quiet and reflective, and I'd like you to get nice and comfortable, and we're going to integrate and digest everything I've just shared with you and bring it through the body. Your body knows how to do this. Our bodies actually know how to heal. If we'll just get out of the way, our bodies know how to manifest. There's so much wealth inside of you. There's so much consciousness inside of you, so much wisdom inside of you. But we just need to create space to listen and clear the pathways into deeper and deeper connection. So if you haven't already, close your eyes. I'm going to take a deep, beautiful breath into your belly. We're breathing down to the foundations of the self. And sometimes it doesn't feel great in there, right? There might be feelings, there might be uncomfortableness, but we breathe in, we lean in, and we feel the feelings we don't want to feel because we understand that that's going to root you down and deeper into yourself. And it's going to open up new doorways to receiving in time, not necessarily right away. And this is why sometimes things can seem like they're getting worse before they get better. They're not getting worse, they're just going deeper. So beautiful. Deep breaths in. We're going to relax and release with the exhale. And I'd like you to welcome your intention, what you want to manifest, what you want to create. And this is the focus point. This is that heart, body, soul aligned desire, that vision, that want, that need. We're going to welcome your intention into the space. This is the activation, the activator. Welcoming it in. Welcoming it in. We're welcoming the consciousness of your intention that wants to live, that wants to be realized, that wants to manifest, that wants to be born into this world. And we're going to tap into the version of yourself that knows how to manifest this. You may not know this part with your logical mind, but it lives inside of you as buried treasure. And call that future wealthy you, or who you are when you've already manifested the result that you desire. Welcome them in. Welcome them in to take up space. We need to create space for this part of you to be here. Breathe to receive, breathe to receive. We're waking up your wealth. We're waking up your wealth through every cell in your body, through your nervous system, through your energetic system. Beautiful. We'll ask that the energy of this activation begin to release and let go, transform and alchemize any patterns, programs, energies that are stopping you or blocking you from fully embodying who you are and what you want. And breathe to receive and breathe to receive. And I'd like you to breathe right down at the pelvic floor. The root chakra is the birth canal between your inner world and your outer world. So we're going to invite the root to open as much as you possibly can. It may or may not be able to now, but we're breathing in and practicing to relax, to release, to embody, to receive. I'm going to ask for the consciousness of your soul, this universal wisdom, that wealthy wisdom within, to shine a spotlight on the part of yourself that is in separation between yourself and what you want. The buried treasure, I call it. The part of yourself that doesn't know how to receive or doesn't feel safe to receive. And you can find this deep in the belly or the pelvic floor, sometimes even deeper beneath you. And we want to illuminate this part of you now with so much love. So we're flooding this part of you with so much love, under and all around. The vulnerable part, the scared part, maybe the part that lives in shame. It's doing all sorts of dodging, diving, incredible tricks to not be found. They're very smart, they're very clever, very slippery. I call this part sometimes a slippery snake of self-sabotage. We're going to go meet this part, get to know this part, eventually hold this part, and invite this part to heal and come home. Not always ready right away. We have to build a relationship of trust with this part of you. And we start just by breathing and staying present, holding space for this part of you. You cannot force this part of you to change. You cannot force this part of you to receive. It's so sensitive, so vulnerable. It's been so protected for so long. Kind of wrap this part in this beautiful energy and all of this love and presence and consciousness. Just breathe and stay present with it. Welcome. Stay curious, stay interested, stay open. Keep breathing deep into the belly, deep into the pelvic floor, deep into your legs. This part has unmet needs, unmet wants, unmet desires. This part often feels very alone, very sad, very scared. We're going to go and meet them and love them and get to know them. We're flooding this part with love, flooding with energy. Beautiful. Keep breathing. We're going to bring this energy right under them and around them, kind of cocooning them with your consciousness. I call this loving them into life. Loving them into life in their own time. This part will not be rushed. So we go slow. Needs safety, sensitivity. Beautiful. And often these parts have historical pain or trauma, historical hurt and harm. And so we need a lot of compassion and understanding of why they're hiding, why they don't want to be found, why they're dodging and diving, why they're playing hide and seek. We're going to wrap them up in love and curiosity. And if this part will speak to you, you can ask, what do you need? What do you need to feel safe? And we want to listen to the very vulnerable answer when they're ready to tell you. What do you need? What do you want? How can I support you? Getting this part of you on board is the key to receiving. This part of you needs to build trust with you. This part has been left and abandoned and alone for too long. So I love to come in and say, I'm so sorry I left you. I'm so sorry I haven't looked after you. Please forgive me. I'm here to meet you now, to know you now, to love you now, to take care of you now. This part may not trust you for a while. So we build trust slowly, one step at a time. One step at a time. Beautiful. So we're cocooning this part for now in love. We're not going to try and do anything but stay curious. And we're going to hold this part, hear this part, honor this part of you. Because this part of you holds a great superpower, and so much power. Once it trusts you, once it feels safe, once you honor its needs. And this part is a key to receiving what you want, or a key. So we're just going to hold and swirl all this energy around them. And we are holding the space and time to love them into life. We do not do this from force. We do not do this from judgment. We do not do this from criticism. This is not how we heal. We heal with this safe space, with patience. You need a lot of patience with this part of you. Okay, beautiful. So we're just going to let that energy swirl all around and under you and allow for the timing and allow for the unraveling. But for now, we want to hold space to hear and hold, listen, honor, and start to work towards meeting their needs. A lot of their needs is around self-care. Maybe they need a cuddle. Maybe they need a nice warm meal. Maybe they need a really good night's sleep. Maybe they need to go for a walk. Maybe they need to play. This part is not really interested in business yet. It needs a lot of relaxing, restful, pleasure-filled experiences to bring down the armor. So beautiful. We're just going to let that energy swirl and whirl. And once they feel safe and once they trust you, it will start to unlock their creative genius and their superpowers, their playfulness, their ideas. So take a few more deep breaths. Breathing down into the belly, down into the pelvic floor, down into the legs. I'm just going to root down. And we're flooding this source aligned, soul aligned, heart aligned energy down through your body, down into the roots of yourself. We're giving yourself what you need and want, particularly through the lack or the not having what you want. So all those external setbacks are calling you home to meet this part of you. If something's not working, we go down and meet this part. We're going to love them into life, eventually bring them up and into your body, bring them into the game of your life, manifest this part into life. So as you identify your wants and needs, we want to start to manifest them. So it might be a massage, it might be a spa day, it might be some activity. And we want to start manifesting more of that in as well as a key to creation. Something fun, something restful, something enjoyable. It might have nothing to do with business or money. It usually doesn't, but it will feed you. It will feed you in time. Beautiful. So let's give thanks to all the energies that have been working with you, through you, for you, that will continue to work with you, through you, for you. It's an activation. Patience with this process. Patience with this process. And then you can slowly come around when you're ready. I invite you to write down maybe a few notes, anything you felt or saw, uncovered, discovered. And then slowly come around when you're ready in your own time.